Ever scroll through your phone during commercials and then you suddenly realize, like, wait, I have no idea what that ad was even for.
Happens to the best of us.
Right. And it's like we're bombarded with so much information these days that tuning it out, it's almost second nature.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir there.
But what if I told you there's a world where ads aren't just tolerated, they're actually sought out?
Okay, now that's interesting.
That's exactly what we're diving into today, this fascinating intersection of gaming advertising and how our brains really work.
I'm in.
We've got a treasure trove of research and marketing insights to unpack, so get ready for some serious aha moments.
Well, it's certainly a hot topic, and it all boils down to this concept of the attention economy, which,
Okay, break it down for me. Attention economy. Sounds a little ominous.
yeah, it kind of does, right?
I-
It's not just a buzzword, though. It's a battleground for arguably the most valuable resource in today's world, your attention.
And companies are fighting tooth and nail for it.
Absolutely. Every second counts.
And when you put it that way, it makes total sense why traditional advertising is struggling.
The old playbooks just aren't cutting it anymore.
One of the stats that just blew my mind was that 85% of people are using another device while watching TV.
Yeah, we've all been there, myself included.
I'm guilty of it too. And get this, only a third of ads actually get our full attention.
Yeah, those numbers paint a very clear picture. Traditional advertising methods are fighting a losing battle. Brands are desperate for new ways to break through the clutter and truly connect with consumers.
So what's the solution? What's the magic bullet?
Well, there's no magic bullet, but there is a contender that's shaking things up, and that's the world of gaming.
Gaming, okay, I gotta admit, my first thought is teenagers in basements, not exactly a marketer's dream demographic.
I hear you. But that's a common misconception. The gaming landscape has exploded. We're talking about billions of players globally spanning all ages and backgrounds. And here's the kicker. Gaming boasts an almost unbelievable 99% viewability rate.
Whoa, 99%? That's insane.
It's light years ahead of other media.
So to put that in perspective for our listeners, that's compared to online video at what, 88%? Or social media at a measly 79%.
You got it.
So what's the secret sauce?
Yeah.
What makes gaming so captivating?
It all comes down to one word: immersion.
Immersion.
Think of it like getting lost in a good book or movie, but amplified time seems to disappear because you're not just passively watching, you're actively engaged.
I get it. Like I can easily lose track of time binge watching a show,
Mhm.
but it's a very different experience from, say, playing an intense game of something like, well, I don't know, Mario Kart.
Exactly. And that difference in active participation is key. In games, you're not just following a story, you're shaping it, making decisions that have real-time consequences. And that level of agency creates a level of engagement that other forms of media just can't match.
So it's not just about keeping players entertained.
Yeah.
This is about tapping into something much deeper.
Absolutely. This deep immersion can actually predict consumer actions with 80% accuracy and even increase sales by 83%, according to some studies we looked at.
Wow. So we're not just talking about capturing fleeting attention here.
Hmm.
We're talking about a level of engagement that has a real impact. Now that's fascinating. But I want to shift gears for a moment and talk about the emotional aspect of gaming.
Okay, sure.
One stat that jumped out from our research is that a whopping 57% of players rank gaming as a top platform for feeling happy. So what's going on in our brains when we're playing games?
It's more than just quick dopamine hits and instant gratification, although those are definitely part of the equation. Games, especially well-designed ones, they tap into our fundamental human desires, the desire for mastery, the challenge of problem solving, and even the social connection of playing with others. And here's the thing, positive emotions like enjoyment and excitement, they actually enhance our ability to pay attention.
It's like it just puts you in a good mood and keeps you there.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that this consistent positivity, it actually creates a more engaging experience compared to, say, the often chaotic world of social media or the constant barrage of negativity we see in the news.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, we all crave those feel-good moments, right? But I can't help but think about the elephant in the room here, ads.
Ah, yes, the double-edged sword of the digital world.
Because let's be real, nobody actually enjoys having their game interrupted by an ad, right?
Right. It's all about finding that balance, that sweet spot where advertising doesn't feel so intrusive.
So how do games get away with it?
Well, it's not so much about getting away with it as it is about understanding how to integrate ads in a way that feels more organic and, dare I say it, almost enjoyable.
Okay, now you're just messing with me, right?
Yeah.
Ads that are enjoyable? I'm skeptical, but I'm definitely intrigued. Tell me more.
Think about it this way. If an ad feels like a natural extension of the game itself, If it's relevant to what you're doing at that moment, and if it doesn't rudely interrupt your flow, well, then it stops feeling like an annoying intrusion and starts to feel like a welcome part of the experience.
Interesting. So it's kind of like that old saying, if you're going to do something wrong, do it right.
Well, not exactly, but I
Right.
get what you're saying.
It's like the difference between a friend recommending a new restaurant and a giant billboard screaming at you while you're trying to enjoy a scenic drive.
Exactly. And this is where that concept of immersion we talked about comes back into play. Remember how we discussed how gaming is uniquely positioned to capture and hold our attention? Well, it turns out that in-game ads, when done right, can actually enhance that sense of immersion rather than detract from it.
So they actually become part of the experience rather than just interrupting it.
Precisely. It's all about creating a seamless experience where the ads feel like a natural part of the game world. And the research backs this up. Studies have shown that in-game ads consistently outperform other forms of digital advertising when it comes to brand recall and purchase intent.
So advertisers are catching on. They're realizing that gamers are this incredibly engaged audience, and they're figuring out smarter, less intrusive ways to reach them.
That's the heart of it. Instead of interrupting the experience, they're finding ways to actually become part of the experience. And this is where things get really interesting because we're talking about a fundamental shift in how advertising works. It's no longer just about bombarding people with messages, but about creating authentic connections and adding value to their experiences.
It sounds like we're on the cusp of something big here, a whole new era for advertising and gaming.
Absolutely. And this brings us to the big question: where is this all headed? What's next for the future of advertising in the gaming world? What does it mean for us?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We've explored the power of gaming and these surprisingly effective in-game ads, but where does it all go from here? What's next?
Well, buckle up because the future of this relationship is about to get seriously meta. We're talking about a world where the lines between entertainment advertising and even our everyday lives become increasingly blurred.
Blurred lines, you say. Okay, now you've really piqued my curiosity.
Imagine a world where games aren't just a form of escapism, but are seamlessly integrated into our daily routines and even our goals. We're already seeing glimpses of this with the rise of augmented reality games like Pokemon Go, which took the world by storm.
Oh, absolutely. I remember when that came out. It felt like everyone was out on the streets trying to catch Pokemon. It was a social phenomenon for sure.
Exactly. Now imagine that concept taken to a whole new level. We're talking about games that can educate us, train us for specific skills, and even help us solve real-world problems, all while keeping us entertained and engaged.
So it's like gamifying our lives, but not in a cheesy, gimmicky way. More like using the power of gaming to make things that are usually seen as chores or work into something fun and engaging.
Precisely. Games are incredibly effective at capturing our attention and motivating us to achieve goals. That's why they have incredible potential to transform everything from education and healthcare to marketing and even social change.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like taking something we love gaming and using its inherent strengths to make other aspects of our lives better and more engaging.
And here's where it gets really interesting. What if the principles of game design, those elements that make games so captivating and addictive, could be applied to other areas of our lives?
Like what? You gonna have me slaying dragons to pay all my taxes?
Uh-huh. Not quite. But what if learning a new language was as engaging as leveling up in our favorite RPG, or
Mm.
turning those mundane work tasks into mini games that reward us for our productivity?
Okay, now that I could get behind.
Right. The possibilities are truly limitless. And as gaming technology continues to advance, we can expect even more immersive and personalized experiences. Imagine stepping into virtual worlds that are almost indistinguishable from reality, or interacting with AI-powered characters that adapt to our individual preferences and learning styles.
It's both incredibly exciting and a little bit daunting at the same time, wouldn't you say?
It certainly is. It's a future brimming with potential, but it also reminds us of the importance of being mindful of our relationship with technology. We need to ask ourselves what role we want games and advertising to play in our lives and how we can ensure those roles remain positive and enriching.
It's like walking a tightrope between innovation and responsibility.
Well said. And with that in mind, I'll leave our listeners with this thought. The next time you find yourself captivated by a game, or, yes, even an ad, take a moment to appreciate the incredible forces at play. It's not just a game or an ad, it's a glimpse into the future of how we engage with the world around us.
That's a powerful takeaway. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of gaming advertising and the ever-evolving landscape of our attention, remember one thing. Stay curious, stay engaged, but most importantly, stay mindful. Thanks for joining us on this journey. Until next time.